Roethke published his first book of poems in 1941, and the title poem in that collection is called Open House. The book is titled Open House, and the poem itself serves as a kind of introduction to his project as a whole. And it was remarkably different than a lot of the prevailing aesthetics of the time, and sets a new, very deeply personal course for poetry going forward, for his poetry and for a whole slew that followed him. My secrets cry aloud, I have no need for tongue. My heart keeps open house, my doors are widely swung. An epic of the eyes, my love, with no disguise. My truths are all foreknown, this anguish self-revealed. I'm naked to the bone, with nakedness my shield. Myself is what I wear, I keep the spirit spare. The anger will endure, the deed will speak the truth, in language strict and pure. I stop the lying mouth, rage warps my clearest cry to witless agony. There's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of anguish there, but notably there is a poet there. There is a voice there who is turning inward and focusing on his own psychological and emotional state, which is remarkably different than the new critical tradition stemming from T.S. Eliot, among others. It is a poetry of trauma. It is a poetry of a wounded and self-conscious and self-reflective eye. You can see some of the telltale signs of his poetry throughout his career. It is again a very ordinary spoken word language. It's not a particularly artsy diction that he uses here. It has a rhyme scheme in this, but it's also slightly irregular. Look at the stanza. The first stanza: "My secrets cry aloud. I have no need for tongue. My heart keeps open house. My doors are widely swung." Aloud and house, yeah, kind of rhyming there. It's more of an assonance than a rhyme. It's not quite there. And you get sort of the same thing down in that third stanza. The anger will endure, the deed will speak the truth in language strict and pure. I stop the lying mouth. Mouth and truth, yeah, again, maybe. It's close, but it's just a little off. And I think that is somewhat intentional. I think that irregularity, that somewhat gnarled quality to it is important. Now, he is drawing this as a kind of extension, you could say, Rothke is, from traditions of emotional, expressive, psychological poetry going back quite a while. John Donne, I think, is a significant influence. So would Gerald Manley Hopkins, Whitman to a certain degree. You know, Frost in certain respects, but he is building something new, and it's going to basically take over the poetry of the 20th century in America, at least, where the so-called confessional poets come along, and where they center their entire poetic project around self-expression, around saying, I am going to sit there and I am going to talk about my inner world, my psychology, my pain, and share that. And you can either identify with that or you won't, and that's kind of up to you. And that was very much the project that Roethke is embarking on here. And also in this, you can see part of that tradition in the idea that there is something to be seen in the deepest recesses of oneself. It is a kind of belief almost, and later in his career he gets much more into mysticism, but it is a kind of romantic belief that there is some greater truth that is beneath the surface, that is perhaps invisible on first glance, but that if you sit and consider it enough, it starts to reveal itself. My truths are all foreknown, this anguish self-revealed. I'm naked to the bone, with nakedness my shield. There is a real sense right there, obviously, of interior and exterior, and how I'm naked to the bone, with nakedness my shield. It is which is in a way a declaration of independence, of demanding that I will expose myself metaphorically, I emotionally, but the but even in that, there is something to be looked through. Even in that, there is something to be seen within. I stop the lying mouth. Rage warps my clearest cry to witless agony. And here he is saying that that witless agony is the poetry, is what he has to say, is what he has to offer. Witless, it is not supposed to be particularly polished, perhaps. But he is putting that agony, that pain, that psychological and emotional trauma at the forefront and saying, this is what I am doing. And it's a remarkable little poem. It's a remarkable project that he embarks on. And the work that follows from it continues this basic credo through many different permutations, and it sets a considerable course for everything that's to come over the next several generations.